Hi friends, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to start right off by saying I'm not a graphic designer or artist, but over the years I've picked up many easy tricks from actual designers that can be used in any kind of design, whether you're doing PowerPoint slides, creating business cards, signage, making a website, you name it. But in this video, we're going to focus on PowerPoint, with 4 easy design tricks for stronger slides. The first trick is about alignment. Let's start with an example from the world of print. Pick up any newspaper or magazine, you'll probably see something like this. And at first glance, you probably think it's fine. You know where to start reading, you know how to read through the middle, and then where the article finishes. But how does your brain see this? How do your eyes move? Your brain likes order and unity, so when you first look at a page like this, it takes a split second to try to find some kind of organization. Your brain also loves shapes, and it's going to try to fit elements into a shape. Seeing no defined shape here, the brain will kind of make its own shapes around the objects, something looking roughly like this. Now, which of these lines do you think is stronger? Just visually looking at them. I think it's easy to see the straight line on the right would be stronger. You can even imagine setting a weight on top of each line, and that squiggly line probably wouldn't hold up too well, but the one on the right would. When you're looking at something, you want to see that strength as well in the layout. And that's created by visually connecting or aligning the elements on the page. So let's make this better. Here you'll see that we've left aligned the headings, we've also justified the paragraphs, and then we resized the image so that it aligns left and right with the text. And lastly, because of those changes, you'll see the bottom of the article aligns better than it did before as well. Now when you look at this, your brain can immediately see the organization, the shapes, and how things relate to one another. This means that your cognitive load, which is just a fancy way of saying how hard you have to think, decreases just a tiny bit when you look at this layout. Now it is a tiny, tiny bit, but added up over time, over your entire day, let's say, this can have a huge impact on your viewers. Looking at them side by side, I think you'll agree the one on the right just feels a little bit better when you look at it. So left aligning and right aligning seem to be the way to go, but you might be asking, what about centering? Centering can be tough from an alignment perspective. Looking at this example, yes, there is technically a strong connecting line down the middle of the elements, but your eyes will also see the squiggly lines around the outside edges of the text, something like this. Kind of reminds me of a lamp. So aligning things to the far right in this example will actually make it a stronger design, or to the far left will work as well. Now yes, there is still an opportunity for a squiggly line around the right of the text, but because the left is so strong and everything looks connected on that side, you tend to not really notice what's happening on the right. So if you're going to go center, it's usually best with something like this, very little text, and nothing else on the slide that your eye is going to try to align to. Let's look at another example. In this one, we have a list of steps. Our world is full of steps and processes to follow. I'm sure you've all seen PowerPoint slides or lists like this. And at first glance, it seems okay. We even have a nice picture of a house to keep things interesting. But putting your designer hat on, could this be made better? Again, from a shapes and alignment perspective, your brain's going to take a microsecond of time to try to organize this page, and it'll do something like this. So let's make this one better. Here we've left aligned all of our elements, moved the picture over to the left, and also made the end of the title match up a little bit closer with the end of the bullets. Now when you look at this, your brain again will save a split second of time trying to make sense of the different elements because they look more organized and the relationships are more clear. Here's a side-by-side view like we did before, and the changes that we made are really subtle, but I think you'll agree that they make a pretty big difference. Alright, moving on to our second trick, proximity. To introduce this principle, I want to take you to a restaurant. Take a minute to look at this scene. Look at these two over here on the right. Would you say there's a relationship between the two of them? Do they know each other? What about this guy? What would you say his relationship is to the other people in the scene? Does he know them? Well, I guess we'll never really know, but I think we can agree there's some sort of relationship between the people on the right, but probably not with this solo guy and the others in the picture. And why did we make that conclusion? Well, it's because how close people are to each other, right? The principle of proximity says that elements that are close together are perceived to be more related than elements that are farther apart. In other words, group related items together, and if they're not related, then don't group them. Let's see some examples. I'll give you 2 seconds to look at this slide. Okay, how many dots were on that last slide? How many groups of items did you see? And what was the relationship between them? Are you stumped? You probably are. Here, let's try another one for 2 more seconds. Now can you answer these questions? How many dots, how many groups, and how do they relate? I bet you can answer those questions now, even though I gave you the same amount of time on both slides. You can probably answer that the last one had 9 dots and that they were in one group. And you can tell they're related because they were in one group. The first slide, however, was all over the place. Because none of the dots were grouped together, your brain had to treat them all as individual objects. And research has shown that our brains can really only deal with 5 to 6 things at a time. As we talked about earlier, your brain likes to put shapes around things and to organize them in some way. And if you haven't made any obvious groupings on your slide, your brain has to do a lot of extra work to figure out what those relationships are. Here you can see that just by adding some space, it looks like there's 3 columns now. And by adjusting the space again, we now have 3 rows instead. Make sense? Let's look at another one. Here's the business card, similar to what we saw earlier. Now, how many objects do you see on this slide, and how are they related? One easy way to answer that is count how many times your eyes stop as they move around the card. And where do they start and stop? I bet after you cover all 5 objects, your eyes keep going back over them, right? And the reason that's happening is because your brain is trying to figure out how everything's related. It's just not that obvious in this design. What about this instead? Now how many objects do you see? Just 2. And now the relation is that the top is my channel name and what I do, and then the bottom is my contact information. Looking at these side by side, I think it's pretty easy to see which is more organized. And remembering back to our alignment principle as well, you could take that even farther and fix the alignment to go hard left or hard right, like in this example. Now let's look at the ever-popular bullet point list. If you look at any amount of PowerPoints, you surely see your fair share of bullet points, but sometimes the proximity principle is violated, like here. Incidentally, if you want to know some alternatives to bullet points, check out the video linked above. When you look at this, it's almost like there's 2 separate lists, right? So to fix this, you can just move the bullet points a little bit closer to the text, and we've made things more related. Now we've got just one cohesive list. And again, the side-by-side view clearly shows which is more cohesive. One more example related to lists. We have a list of various food items here. Looking at this, how many objects do you see? I think just 1. And the only obvious relationship is that they're all food items. But we do see some bolded items here, so let's see how we can group them that makes the subgroups more obvious. Something as simple as that. Just by adding a little bit of space between those groups, it's easy to see we have 3 different groups now: coffee, wine, and cheese. The essentials. Side by side is really easy to see how that spacing adds clarity. All right, moving on to our third tip. This is about contrast. Take a quick look at that picture. Did you notice the contrast? You probably did. It's pretty apparent in that example, but even if the difference is more subtle, our brains are hardwired to pay attention to contrasts of all size. The reason for this is because as humans have developed over the centuries, this has become a key part of staying alive. Being able to quickly recognize irregularities or predators in the environment could literally mean life or death, so we've become very good at seeing contrast and reacting to it. Our brains also love a lot of contrast because the differences are so stark. When something looks very similar to something else, our brains have to work a little bit harder to see if it's really contrast or if our eyes are just playing tricks on us. So a really blunt contrast like this slide actually lets your brain relax a little bit and say, oh, because the differences are so obvious. Using contrast can create visual interest, but it also helps to organize your slides, which includes an important concept called visual hierarchy. Here's an example of what that is. If you have a well-contrasted design, it's going to be obvious to your reader what to read first, what to read next, and what to read after that. Position and indentation on this slide are also really helpful to establish that hierarchy, but contrast is one of the most important things to consider in terms of giving structure to your slides. There are some additional ways that you can use contrast. Let's look at these 3: color, shape, and size. Regardless of which you use, though, be bold when using contrast. As we talked about earlier, your viewers will appreciate the clear and stark distinction. Let's start with color. Here's a good example of color contrast. It's very clear what the contrast is and what you're trying to draw attention to. Here's a poor example of contrast. In this example, you might look at that middle circle on the right and start to question yourself. Are your eyes playing tricks on you? Is there something wrong with your monitor? Did the designer, me, just make a mistake in shading that particular circle? Using contrast like this doesn't help your users, and it doesn't help you as a designer because it just looks like you made a mistake or you are being sloppy. So be bold and unapologetic as you're using contrast. Here's another example. As far as colors go, the highest contrast you can get is black and white. And when using it for text, not only does the stark contrast say to your users, hey, this is not a mistake, but it also makes the text more readable. Anytime you're thinking about readability and legibility, keep the contrast as high as possible. I know there's been debate for years about the best colors to use for PowerPoint slide backgrounds, for example. Should they be dark or light? Should the text be dark or light? And there's good arguments on both sides, but I think the bottom line is you should really maximize the contrast between the foreground and the background for readability. On the flip side, something like this is not going to be very readable, especially if it was a small size, like on a mobile device, or if your users have poor eyesight. If you had an entire PowerPoint deck that used this background color and the foreground color, your audience would tune out and probably be pretty annoyed. Back to this slide, which should be looking familiar, we saw how the alignment helped here, but let's analyze it for contrast. As far as color goes, there really isn't any color contrast here, right? Other than maybe the picture. Now let's look at adding some color to the headings. See how those pop now? The difference is kind of night and day when you look at them side by side. Just by adding a little bit of color, a user can more easily scan the article and see the headings because they stand out more. The same will be true of your slides. The next technique for contrast is the use of shapes. Here's a good example of contrast with shapes. There's no question that the lower left shape is different from the others, and that really makes it stand out. This is not a great example. That bottom left shape is still different, but not obviously so. It probably took you a second or two to notice it, and your eyes might have had to scan all the other shapes as well just to make sure you weren't losing your mind. So again, really important that with contrast, use it like you mean it. Now take a look at how shapes and contrasting shapes can improve something as simple as a list. Here's a list that I made up, top 4 things you like about this video. In this form, it's just a simple list, like a million other lists that you've seen. You'll notice the principle of alignment and proximity are already taken care of here, so how can we make this better with shapes? Well, what if we add some rectangles of contrasting size here? Much better, huh? Taking it one step further, you could add additional layers of contrast here by using circles for the bullets to contrast with the rectangles. In a side-by-side view, you'll see the one on the right definitely pops more, doesn't it? That's the power of contrast with shapes. Lastly, let's see how you can use size to show contrast. Here's a great example of contrasting with size. It's more than obvious by looking at these 2 circles. We know this was not a mistake. This example, on the other hand, could be a mistake. Did the designer just take a rough guess at the size of each of these without making them the same? Or is it me, the viewer, that's having problems with my eyes? When it comes to text, the same principle applies. Here's an example of very purposeful, stark contrast in font sizes. We know the designer meant it. This is not so good. There's actually a 30-point difference in font size here, but to most people it's not going to be very obvious, and again, it might just look like a mistake. Back to our favorite article, we had some contrast with the color in the headings, but what else could we do? We could increase the font size. We could also make the article title stand out using shapes and colors to really make that contrast pop. Side by side, I think you'll agree the ones on the right are heading in the right direction in terms of contrast, scannability, and visual interest. Our fourth and final tip is about simplicity. Simple things are perceived as more elegant, more expensive, and more desirable. Case in point, which of these meals looks more expensive to you? Did you pick the one on the right? Why did you think that? The one on the left actually seems to have more food, but even regardless of what the food is on either side, I think most people would agree that the one on the right looks more expensive. And the reason for that is simplicity. The plain white plate contrasts with the one on the left with the busy patterns, and the placement of food on the right allows for clean, white space, whereas the plate on the left looks a little bit piled on. Looking at another example, Which of these shoe stores looks more expensive or prestigious to you? For a lot of the same reasons we talked about, I'm guessing you said the one on the right. It's simpler, right? There's lots of space, zero clutter, and all the shoes and displays are very purposefully placed. Simple means elegant, expensive, and professional, whether you're talking about food, clothing, or PowerPoint slides. It will take you far. But ironically, simplicity can also be very complex to achieve. To help as you're designing your slides, ask yourself, does this text or graphic really add value? I see tons of slides in my day-to-day work, and so many times I see the use of what I call decorations, things like clip art or icons or other graphics that really just take up space, but they don't really help the viewer understand more about what's on the slide. And also, this idea of white space, this is really a beautiful thing. If you're not familiar with the term, it basically means the absence of text or graphics. Though incidentally, white space can be any color, it doesn't have to be white, it's just a lack of text or images on the slide. Stealing a couple of examples from the web, Google's site is a great example of white space. Percentage-wise, probably 80–85% of this page is white space, which makes the site super simple and super usable, and consequently super popular. If you went to this page and it was cluttered up with articles and ads and a bunch of other noise, I would argue it wouldn't be as popular. Back to our luxury items, Tiffany is one of the ultimate luxury brands, and you'll see a lot of use of white space on their site as well. Again, this really helps draw your eye to the most important thing, which of course is earrings in this case, but you can use the same principle with something you want to call attention to on a PowerPoint slide. White space also gives your brain a break. We're so bombarded with information and images and sensory overload from a million different things every day. To our brains, it's sort of the equivalent of staring at this all day. So when you see simple, clean white space, we do a cognitive, it just feels so good. So in summary, use these 4 tips: alignment, proximity, contrast, and simplicity in your slides for stronger, more impactful designs. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy a PowerPoint hacks video that I did, which includes easy hands-on ways to more quickly build better slides.